touched upon a lot of different topics in the conversation. Just again, like, who are you? Where do you come from? Like, just to begin, like, introduce
Yeah,
yourself.
and I couldn't tell
to
you
the
who
people.
I am really if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because it's a journey, right? You know, I've been defined by genetics or.
Well, who do you think
my
you are
birth.
right now?
Who do I think I am? I hope I'm somebody who's just sitting around my little corner and creating little haven. Like, I don't know, yesterday I'm watching David, you know, black dance choreographer, professor,
Yeah.
and Paul, who's a fireman, white fireman, you know, who those have been exposed to diversity, you know, like with his neighborhood.
Right.
But I'm watching the two of them having a great conversation and touching subjects, but just opening up, right? And I'm like, how cool is this? This little safe haven, you know?
So
And-
you provide that space for everyone to come in.
At least
and feel like they
I'm
can be
feeling like I am doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
I would say that you are.
At least I feel
my
like,
opinion.
however I've been growing it, or how I've been who I am, was doing that. And for me, that's pretty cool in life that you get to do that, right? And that's
I think what you do is pretty special.
yeah. And I didn't mean to be special. You know what I mean?
You don't mean
Yeah.
to be, but you just because you're just Jan. You just do what Jan wants to do.
Just Jan.
And that's great.
So maybe that was the issue before.
I don't think it's an
and
issue. I
gave
think more
problems
people
before.
need to do what you do in sense of
I'm hoping so.
and not say run a costume shop, but like just be themselves.
Yeah, and real, and then like just really look at the other people, and you know, really listen, as if you love them to start with,
Right.
and not really caring about where they come from or what they are, but a soul that ended up in front of you. And if you just put good thoughts together for a moment, and I feel like, okay, you lived that part of your life in a positive sense. Isn't that what it's all about in a way? The more time you get to spend that time. Just like I get to say, it's a wonderful world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just
So that
those
time
moments.
is what matters to you. The little
I
moments.
think so. I didn't find anything else yet.
I don't think people, especially maybe in our culture at least, put enough value on the moments of like what we're doing right now.
Yeah, we didn't get to. We don't get to just because so many people are telling you what you should listen to, what you should buy, what you should feel bad about.
I feel like a lot of it too, like it begins to pigeonhole you, right?
Yeah,
You know,
and the
like so
purpose
that's
was
the only thing
like
you
there's
do.
something like marketing. It came into life in order to possibly trade better, right? But now it's not about that. The marketing is trying to figure out how to tell other people how to think and what you need, right? So,
Wow, that's deep.
Oh,
But isn't
well,
it-
I mean, to that point, I think the number one thing they teach us too is sort of like create a need, right? In terms of a product, but we do that through our marketing, right? Have to make you think that you want this,
right.
To
So
make-
remember,
It's not
marketing
want this,
came
it's that you need
after.
it.
Yeah.
Marketing came after, right?
Yeah.
But if you think about it and you get so good at marketing, subliminal, like, you know, ways to tell people what you need, right? Which means you kind of forget the pride of let's trade in life. Okay,
Barter
we
system.
yeah,
So-
and
okay.
that's and it was a centralized barter system.
Is that what you prefer? Like more bartering opposed
No,
to cash?
well,
or-
no, but that had more meaning to it. It was pride involved.
I know the value of what
Wow.
you're giving me in return.
Absolutely. And then I have access of this, but it turns out I'm really good at making this.
And you put your heart and soul into what you
Or
make.
there's some sort of pride,
Right.
right? Just some sort of basic pride as a humankind. Okay, I have this. Oh yeah, he's good at that. But it was meant to be a good system to make it work.
Yeah.
But somehow
And so
it became a driven force. So maybe I'm like, I don't know, thinking very, too far or too simple. I don't know. But as somebody who went to business school,
Mm.
like, wow, let's really think about this. Because yes, we've achieved this degree or whatever, but isn't it really about the chemical we get as we get happy? I didn't really understand like happy really means, but I do get chemicals. I understand that now.
Do you think that there's a difference between happiness and joy?
But that's all word.
Joy. Okay, well let me like qualify the feelings. Like happiness, something that comes, it's gonna go away, right? It's a chemical. It comes and it goes away. It's happiness. It's like boom. It's like bliss or elation.
Yeah, but it's a contentment.
This is what I'm saying. So joy, do you think would be?
Yeah, I guess it's depending
'Cause
on
it's
what
steady,
your
it's still there.
language is.
Okay. And then, yeah.
But it's not like having a climax, right?
Okay, that's a happiness.
Right.
But loving your
it's
partner would
right,
be
but whether it's a moment or not,
Mhm.
but enjoying the whole process of embracing the person and being able to trust
Okay.
that person, to be able to trust to share and totally
It's
vulnerable,
constant, like you're saying.
is a comfort in living.
It's fulfillment. It goes past happiness.
Yeah, and then people, maybe starts looking for ultimate climax, right? And goes and goes to war, and he wins and comes back or whatever, and then so he starts looking for this climax. What happens? Yeah, climax, right? He changes his mind. He wants to go back to ordinary life with a widow, with a son. Okay, so trying to achieve like one point.
Mm-hmm.
When you achieve, what happens?
You want the next.
More. So I don't know. I'm like thinking that process is it, and perhaps that's good enough. And if I can enjoy those processes and get something where I laugh with somebody and our little kid that's like like having a good time, or designer running around going, oh my god. And just yesterday somebody came in and said, wow, this place gives me positive energy. That has to tell me that there's energy around.
No, really. So, like, would you agree or disagree that it's more, not so much about what you do, but how you do it, who you affect, stuff like that?
Yeah, it's just like living the journey and trying to support each other to have this journey on this earth. That's it. Simple. Whether you are defined by a fancy person in another country's value or somebody who has nothing in economic sense, but may enjoy the beauty of gardening or really it's just, I think when people feel good, and if you can, when they're little kids or as they're figuring this out, if you can give them something that go, okay, real value, people matter, and somehow give that value of being able to feel good and get those chemicals in a good way and want to do it again, and
That's what it's about.
I think so. I can't think of anything better, because I know I'm not taking anything economical or anything with me. Then next life that happens and I didn't do something right, I'm okay with that.
Is any of that like connected, like a spiritual being, or would you, religion or
I
anything
don't
like that,
know.
or just energy?
I think more Confucius value, because that's
Okay.
how I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And I am exposed to Christian and I hang out with priests and ministers and preachers.
Confusion. That's an interesting one. Yeah.
But I also studied Judaism and technically converted so that when my kids are born,
Oh, because you're.
that nobody would question whether they're Jews or not. And that's when I was
Oh.
taught that out, I could do it. Before that, no, I didn't understand it. Why I have to do it.
So you more so just have this general belief in spirituality, rather than an actual. Just
I don't think
one side.
I'm somebody that can make a decision. Whatever the greater being or the giving force, I don't know it.
But you believe in a greater force.
Might be. And that greater force, if that was so, would be so wise. I don't have to worry about all the things people tell me what I have to do with spirituality wise. because at least as best as I understand, I'm gonna try to do the right. I think is the right thing,
Right.
and why do I have to worry about it after that? I do have. I was volunteering at a social daycare, like senior daycare, so I had people, touring, and I used to let them play like big golf balls, and I had tennis, like ping pong and all kinds of stuff. And a lady said to me, "Miss you, how she say? You talk like Jesus, and you act like Jesus. However, your problem is you don't go to church." And she's standing right there in my shop. So I bowed at her and said, "This is my church. Thank you very much."
Oof.
Wow.
That's a cold line.
And she didn't say anything because I don't think I opened. I was kind of trying to close up the conversation.
Right.
Who are you to judge that I am?
Mhm.
I talk like Jesus and I act like Jesus. I was not. I
You're just being
volunteer over
young.
there. Yeah, whoever I am. And my mom was going there too. But I somehow get it first myself.
Mhm.
And since, I know spreadsheets, I know coordination, I start volunteering a couple hours, in the morning. And then I become advisor to the director, the owner. And, doing what I gotta do. And
Well, can I ask you a really quick question? And this is a little off topic.
Mhm.
But I was told that in like Japanese and Korean culture, when you bow to somebody,
Mhm.
the deeper you bow, the more respect you're showing. Is that true?
Sometimes, really, not really necessarily depending on. There are
Okay.
style of bows you can do,
Mhm.
but yes, I guess it shows more respect.
Okay. I just want to ask that because I just
Right.
heard
And
you
I
mention
guess, and yeah, you do bow more deeply.
for
And I
someone
guess
that,
if it's a man, I guess I'm seeing men come a little more like less,
right,
to another man or, to a woman.
right. I because the way it was explained to me for like in like business settings or like towards more elderly people, you bow deeper to show. more
Yeah,
respect.
sometimes in a
Yeah.
way, yeah. And you
Okay.
don't address them by their first name or anything like that.
Yeah.
And usually it's more titles. Like my elementary school friends, like amongst each other, they'll call each other Professor so and so, and Madam so and so.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So even the
between
thing
male
Even
and
with-
female. Yeah.
even
But
the
then
thing
they
that-
It's
even in
respectful.
Kakao Talk, I'm like, they get to talk to me like almost like a child language.
Uh-huh. So even if they've known each other since they were 5, once they have that title, that's
In
how
certain-
they address each other.
Public space, they
In public.
cannot. Yeah, they
Okay.
really cannot. I don't know what they do, like individually, but because I haven't been in Korea for a long
Once
time
people are
too.
looking at what's happening, and
Yeah, and that's the
this is
role
how
that
we
you
do
play.
things. Okay.
Yeah. Like my mom,
Oh,
like
super
when she was
interesting.
younger, she probably was never being called by her first name
Right.
until she came to the center over here, and they go sang home, and it's Mrs. Yu or whatever the Korean common name or whatever title that she had.
Oh, okay.
But
That's very interesting.
it's and then when the lady says those things to me, I feel like, oh well, it's almost like a secondary religion. You didn't really understand it in a way, but don't impose it on somebody else in a way. But I do find that people find that like security by being able to tell other people what they should do.
Ooh.
In all
Yeah. What in your lifetime? What's like? Can you point to one thing where you've seen that like just night and day, like right there in front of you, like someone doing that, trying to tell people, like in your own personal
all the
experience?
time,
Yeah.
absolutely all the time. Different cultures and different religions, absolutely.
Anything you've seen like firsthand? Like other than just like the lady came in and said that, like something
Right. In all,
slight like that.
oh yeah, I think in all kinds of things I did, but believe it or not, more the learned and sincere, I guess, people that take, like, I've hung out with like priests, like, rabbi will come in and talk about what he should be for a forum. When like Disney bought out the Star, what is the company, Star Wars?
Oh, Star Wars.
Yes. So, then I had to think out, put him in Darth Vader with, crutches or something like that. So, but mostly, yes. No, there are times that I've run into things like that, all kinds of stuff, like being at a synagogue, you know, with the family, and then like, you know, some lady would come over and say, "Do you know when Haftorah is?" And I think it was more just to kind of test me or tell me like what it was about, and I'm like, "Oh, I think it's around between this and that around it."
I mean, it's sort of like that slight microaggression way to say, listen.
Passive aggressive.
Yeah, passive. Yeah, you know you're not a part of this,
Right.
but I'm gonna, you know.
Right.
It's so.
But I've been
isn't that so
dealing
weird
with, yeah.
though? Like, why?
But at the same time, for some reason, whatever I've been given, that I could deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so then I could go into the like a sarcastic mode of between.
I think that's the best way to handle it, is just throw sarcasm back out. Just
Yeah,
like,
the first time I think I first found out about prejudiceness was as a high school cheerleader. I went to Eastchester High School, and you know the boys had leather jackets, you know, the baseball bicolor. And I remember one guy saying, "Oh, do you remember Pearl Harbor?"
Whoa.
Okay, there were a lot of Asians in Westchester County.
Whoa. Yeah.
So I remember
That's
going,
wild.
"I'm not even Japanese, you asshole!" Like
yeah.
I remember saying that, right?
Uh-huh.
And I think that was probably one of the first times that I got, "Oh wow, the people are prejudiced against me."
That's
Do
insane.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking
But-
that because I'm not. I'm sorry, but I'm saying not in terms of timelines.
Mm-hmm.
That was only what 20 something years after Pearl Harbor. So a lot of that stuff is still fresh and like still present.
Right, but it wasn't.
It wasn't?
No, not really. But it was. Well, actually, my Koreans were probably bitter about Japanese and still had horrible feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they were Japanese colony for 36 years.
But not in America. You don't think so?
It did exist somewhat, but
Yeah.
not for a young man to be able to say, if you remember Pearl
Yeah,
Harbor,
okay.
who the hell
Yeah.
are you?
Mm.
Right.
For you to be able
He had
to
to
say
take that
to
extra
another.
effort to say.
Yeah, which
something.
means that you are ignorant,
Mm. Yeah.
right? And are we dealing with similar issues like that just now? And then,
It's not
you
old.
know, whoever is
It's
getting,
It's not new.
was oppressed, are now part of them being entitled? I don't know.
What do you think about that?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, at some point we have to get rid of all those fucking attitudes. And try to be able to see each individual for what it is and get over it. Like, if the other people don't see it, try to understand it. Let's figure out how to make them be able to see so they can feel, so they can change. Possibly.
Do you think those people that maybe are ignorant to that, maybe are just, they're hurting inside and they just don't know any better?
Yeah,
And
I think
how
so.
how would we go about
I don't know, start
showing
creating
how to feel?
situations that when they get younger, learn
Because
to
I
make
think that's
them
the
be
best
able to
thing.
be
It has to be
happy.
attacked at a
Educate.
young age through education.
Spread, spread. Like, start teaching people what makes them be able to feel good, and then be able to pursue that to while they're doing the journey, so that people can help each other out. It sounds
So
too
each one teach
idealistic,
one.
but
I mean,
like the little kids don't automatically want to just like compete and all that in a way. But if you somehow, I do talk to elementary, like even with the
so yeah, there's some
another
natural
group.
characteristic traits that are just like he's gonna
That too.
be that way. Yeah.
Right, but then find more progressive ways as technology changed. Kind of try to tweak the education system so that it's more, felt and, not so defined.
And you're
And-
saying through technology, that's the best way to do it.
I don't know if there's one answer, but try to seek what it,
The tech course.
like appreciating the most individual, like characteristics, and be able to utilize the technology to help move forward.
So using technology as an add-on. So you're saying basically there needs to be a restructuring, not only through the way we're educating generally, to our teachers, to our students, and what they're teaching them, but also use technology as an add-on that maybe
Right,
like,
and just so necessarily always money oriented, but really do utilize it for real life things, just like more, just
right.
like the profit oriented thing is But
Throwing money at a problem never fixes it.
I don't think so.
No. It might fix some portions of the problem, but I don't think it will fix problems entirely.
Right.
For real problems, at least.
Right. And what are real problems but our souls, and we get to have a journey, and
Go
they would
deep,
have
Jan. Go deep.
I don't know, but that's
yeah.
how I think. I'm not, like I'm not a philosopher. I'm not somebody who studied that.
Oh,
You don't have to study. You
Mm-hmm.
you sound like you have a lot of
You
wisdom.
live it.
You lived
Yeah.
it. You are a philosopher. Just because you didn't read it doesn't mean you don't embody it.
Right.
I think
right.
honestly, like, if you know a lot of philosophy because you read it but you don't act it, you're not a philosopher.
Right.
You
But,
know
like,
trivia.
even lately,
I
I
was
just-
talking about this last time. But
I-
if you
I-
live it, that's a
I
real
do
philosopher.
think about
For real.
like the poets and them things
Yeah.
like that.
Who were they?
Well,
Really?
like my friend, the my elementary school friend that was a UN ambassador,
Mhm.
and I said to him, when you were little, you were like such a beautiful boy. You could sing and you could recite poems, and you were still so sweet. We used to trade like side dishes, and when he turned on his wife and said, "See what kind of person I used to be," and I'm like, "People call you Your Excellency now." And his father, a Korean government, just celebrated his father's 100th birthday as the most influential poet in Korea.
Wait, what's his name again?
The son's name is Cho Tae-yeol, and the father's name is Jo Ji-hoon. And his book is on the internet, Amazon. So I did order just the paper copy of it, and I don't know why. It's called Falling Petals, I think, and it's a translation of his father's name, poems, and he was influential in preserving or developing spirit of Korea.
So what of Korea?
Spirit.
Okay.
Spirit. Okay.
Yeah,
Like the
almost-
actual spirit was it like
Yeah, almost building and growing
Like the
his
culture.
Really? Wow.
culture
Yeah.
and fighting against Japanese and having his own culture. It's pretty cool, right? He died when he was 48 years old. His father.
Wow.
Here's a side question.
Mm-hmm.
No, you mentioned a couple times Korea and in Japan. Really not a great relationship there, right? Historically.
At moments.
At moments it wasn't.
But still, there's there's a collaboration to it.
There is?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
yeah.
do you
Also, of
do you
course.
think that today?
My
like-
father went to Waseda University of Japan.
Oh, he did?
He did his graduate architectural work over there.
Oh.
Mhm.
So do you think that like any of the countries harbor any bad feelings about each other, or
I
do
think
that
more
carry on
individual
culturally?
and all that, but
Okay.
yeah, oh yeah, sure. There's certain,
Is there any
feelings
certain
there.
feeling that's like no? Like,
Yeah, they are like a conservative
mhm.
sector, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just like any other cultural differences here and
Mhm.
conflicts here.
Mhm.
It's I think it's really depending on who it is and what group you are. They're still dealing with a lot of issues.
Right.
Including the woman that was sent as almost prostitutes for all the Japanese armies, and then they came back and they were shunned too.
Really?
Oh yeah, so I think Korean government even set up a whole place for them to retire to at some point to help
Really?
them. Oh yeah, it's a whole another street. They used to take that
Explain
college
that for
kids
me.
off the street as
So it's like this is like a non-profit, or?
what do you mean? The people that are setting up those things, the
Yeah.
government is. And then trying to get
Oh.
apologized with Japan too. So there's
So-
a film being made. I think a Korean group was making a film, and they had come in, and I think they reserved costumes and never really came back.
They
but,
came here.
Well, it's a Korean Americans who are trying to make, I think, film.
So
Yeah.
the Korean government was
I forget the
sending
name of the-
prostitutes to Japan
Or no, regular woman as to help the men.
as prostitutes.
I guess whatever they need to help the men, physically or
For what?
mentally.
Like why would
Physically
they?
and mentally.
But why was Korea doing this?
Japanese were doing it out of Korean. For
So
Japanese
were
army.
sending women?
No, Japanese were taking Korean women.
Oh, they were taking them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying the Korea was offering them.
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
That's
They were
Japanese
stealing
was all
women.
the, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I just
Well,
didn't hear
Japanese Korea was, I believe, what Japanese colony for 36 years,
that. Okay.
and then
Oh, so they take their women, they bring them over here, and then now once they got kicked out because they called them prostitutes, the government set up something for them to do.
or
how to
after
live.
many years of
They try to
serving,
help them out.
and then they come back, and then the society shunned them.
Oh, so they called that like actual service, like that was an actual thing, like.
No, because she's saying Japan took them, and then
Right, I
Japan,
just said that.
and then
Right,
Japan
right,
kicked
right.
them out, right?
Or
And
when the
Japan
war was
kicked them
over
out-
or whatever happened, and then they had to come back to Korea. And then the Korean society totally shunned them for a long time too.
Right. Okay. So I see. Okay. I see.
So right now I can't think
That's
of
wild.
there's a name and there is a lot of,
Mhm.
I think there's some documentaries and things like but in any other history, right? Like things that are messed up happens and and I don't know all of it, but from I grew up with the hearing stories and things like that and during the war
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I know it and but it's like parallel everywhere. So somehow people somehow have just I don't know why, but I feel like somehow people can relate universally as a human here. And can we do that in other places? And
Can you replicate that? Yeah.
yeah, or just people just start talking and I don't think I'll ever have so because nobody else does either. But it's almost like learning that each individual does count, and it's about essence of that soul and not things that are defined.
Mm.
So, despite I'm like, oh, what the hell am I doing? But I do feel like I get to be in a little
How
corner.
you be, who you are, how you act.
Yeah.
Those are-
When you say defined, do you mean like material defined, like something you can hold?
No, not necessarily.
So what do you mean by defined?
Like meaning that you just open up to the other person to listen and see if you can work together, and that's it.
Right. So you were saying. I lost my train of thought there, but
Oh, basically what she's saying is like, you should be judged or looked at as who you are, how you act, right?
And
Opposed to being defined.
Almost
defined by
taking
what
those,
you have.
yeah, and almost
Right.
taking individual actions as it's happening.
What you have, what you do, your professional
Right.
career.
So you're
there's
saying
more
how you
energy.
act and who you are to the people around you.
Yeah,
Is-
or what's
is-
happening for the time being as you're
Right.
thinking long term, short term,
Okay.
or whatever it is. Just, all the judgmental things of what should happen, what shouldn't happen, and how to calculate. Not about that.
It should be about how
Almost like learning
people
to trust each other. Like,
with compassion.
yeah.
Yeah.
And somehow lucky enough to be able to form that group somehow. Like some sort of a trust.
I feel like we're moving more towards that as a society. I feel like we're moving slowly, but more from materialistic things and how much money we have to how much we're providing for society in a sense of like
Yeah,
wealth
and
benefit for
somewhat more
society in
open.
general.
Like I do feel like the younger generation, a little bit certain pockets of it are more open-minded.
Mhm.
It's more universal and more bigger. Like I do find my kids' generation, like my kids and their friends,
Mm-hmm.
look at even LGBT and all that, like, or just even accepting the different economic levels as they are, like
They're much more open.
at least my kids' level, like their friends that I see are much more flexible
Right.
and not as judgmental. And
I think
And
we're
then
very
the
lucky to grow up in Danbury. 'Cause
It's like we always get back to that.
we
always
it's
say
such
that.
a blessing too because
Yeah.
like I didn't realize it when I was there. That's life.
mhm.
And then coming out of it, you're like, oh wow, like we actually grew up in a pretty unique place.
Or
I
like
definitely say it's unique,
and if no matter what happens, if each individual situations that person can say that, that's what matters. You guys lucky because you do see that, but there might have been
How do
situations
you
where you
get
didn't
everyone
have
to see
that.
that?
Huh?
Yeah. I'm saying, how do you get, if not everyone, then most people to sort of see that and sort of wake up and say,
What do you think you've been given? You got to see love. You got to, you know, like you got to see. However, it is you were privileged, and not necessarily. It maybe part of it is economically too, but however,
I think it's most of the people, if anything.
yeah, no, but however you were,
Yeah.
you were
Oh,
given
whatever attributes to
a
it.
premises to grow up in.
Mm.
Made you be able to do that and be able to go back and appreciate it. So
Yeah.
bottom line, if we start understanding that and try to spread, and then
Love.
yeah, it really that is whatever that is, but it just really
It's that
produces
feeling,
chemical.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that and try to listen to everybody, even if they disagree with you, because everyone has their own perception for a different reason. Even if
Yeah.
it doesn't align with yours at all,
Yep.
there's a very big reason why people think the way they do. It's not
Right.
like most people.
But I
make
do
up
hate
their
it when
mind.
they are really like inconsiderate
Absolutely.
and bullies.
And you have to think of it the same way as what did they have growing up that makes them this way of being
Absolutely.
inconsiderate, and
Absolutely.
is there anything I can do to show them maybe that's not the best way to act for
Right.
themselves?
Absolutely. And I think I tried that in many years, and I'm like, it's time to go, because there are other possibilities. I don't need to be hindered
Right.
in a way. So whatever the pockets of real negativism, I think, like my hope is someday they just become a certain way. But in my mind, after you try a while, then that negative wave, you gotta let it go. Just ride waves with the positive people.
And keep pushing, keep going.
Yeah, and that becomes the majority. I become we.
Mm.
And I don't know, I'm lucky in a way that at least, good amount of people react positive way as if I made a good, good, give them some sort of a comfort in life.
Is there anything, living the years that you've lived, the experiences, everything, is there anything that you think of at night that keeps you up at night, or that sends you to bed peaceful at night? Anything that's like always?
I try to send myself peaceful at night.
Yeah.
I work on it.
Is there
Try to get
anything
into
that
the
reminds you
zone.
though, like any good thing, like memory or something like that?
Not anything specific, but just good feelings. I can think of lots of things that I can be happy about. Whether I think about somebody singing and learning how to do, or like little kids with like chimney, like how I dress them in like chimney sweeper, and it's I'm totally getting into it. I have lots of those thoughts. The things that get me upset, I believe that's been so intense, has been my landlord for how many years?
Really?
Oh yeah.
Nothing. Oh.
All the other things,
Yeah,
no.
you can let them go, but it's something like that that really sticks at you. Or?
Absolutely, because it's just like the hindrance of life, like just like spreading that dark, yucky stuff that I have to fight with. That's not right. So that I strategize, but most of the times I'm somebody who can just kind of, try to go into the zone of thinking something good.
Right.
And that's it. And I do get a lots of moments, and I do silly things like I might come back like from driving and I see like that lady with a big bag where she going, and I go park and go help her, And I have a lady that tell me, tell your mother you're an angel, and so I don't know. I think I just those little things maybe however I'm made, I don't know, but somehow I get like little like juices, like just imagining, okay, that lady went home and told somebody else that, I met
It feels good.
Yeah, whatever the chemicals I get, it's real. I figured it out. What does feeling good mean? Something makes me think that it feels good. Because I'm not sitting here going, this happened, therefore I'm happy.
No, but just a feeling.
Yeah, that's it. Like a baby comes in, somebody says, yeah, there's a baby here. Baby alert! I'm like, right.
Exactly. I would do it for sure.
My shit, I can do that. Right?
Mhm.
So I look at that as a privilege when one looks at it as a failure, like especially my colleagues, financial colleagues, when I was younger. When they see me as somebody with like no assets or nothing, and
It's very interesting because you just define success differently. A lot of the people that think you're a failure define success through financial well-being, whereas you define success as waking up with a smile and having this fulfilled life of doing what you really believed in and bringing joy to the people around you. So
it's part of my life. Yeah.
You live successful based on your definition of success.
But then what's nice about it? Some of these friends that say that, I know when they come see me at the shop, I don't have to explain because those are people that I like loved in my own way in there. Like they had parts that understood that. But I know that once like they look in here, oh yeah, that's Jan. And then, oh yeah, I understand now that that's like who she has to be, you know. But it was kind of caught me off guard for a second, you know. Like, oh, you have a home to go to? Because I said I hang out at the shop all the time, right?
Yeah.
And then like you have a place to go. I'm like, I do. It's not that poor, you know. I just not have a big eyebrow count or, you know, the house or I have this, which the value could be 0 to a lot.
Definitely not 0.
It could be 0 to a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have to pay
That's an
money to get rid of
understatement.
it,
Yeah.
you know, I'm
No,
such
yeah.
a realist.
No, you're right though.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't have a buyer,
think
then you
about
have
everything, it
you have
could
to
be
pay a
nothing.
lot of money to
It
get
could be
rid of
a
it.
whole lot sitting in here.
You know?
I love those hats right there with like the teeth on them.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
that's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Crocodile Dundee.
Dundee, yeah.